Well, I guess we have a different video today. So, what this video is me taking an 8 values test. The reason I'm doing this today is because, really, again, the court's filings, all the results, recounts, etc., are still going on, and I had a stream yesterday about it. So, you can watch that stream about it. It was about the Kraken releases, those 2 court filings in Michigan and Pennsylvania, and all that stuff. So for now, today, I kind of want to take an 8 values test because I had nothing really to talk about today. So I wanted to take a step back and, again, make a little fun video. So, disclaimer, these are my personal opinions, and I'll explain all of them as best as I can, okay? So the first thing is, oppression by corporations is more of a concern than the oppression by governments. This is the thing, though. Really, the oppression by corporations is led by the oppression by governments, because the government really allows the corporations to do it. So, I would disagree on this. The oppression by the government's more of an issue, because they're the ones letting the corporations do it in the first place. It is necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect consumers. I agree. You have to protect consumers from just complete garbage that big tech, big corporations do on consumers. Like, they price gouge and it just makes everything crappy. The freer the markets, the freer the people. I agree to an extent. It doesn't mean full out, like, anarcho-capitalism or something like that. I'm talking like, alright, you can start enterprise fairly easily, but just free market for everybody, not just for big tech or big corporations. It is better to maintain a balanced budget than to ensure welfare for all citizens. I agree. You look at a lot of these studies with the deficit, and the deficit causes more problems to the economy than people realize. So if you have a surplus or a balanced budget, the deficit basically cancels out with having less welfare, because people would be less likely to be on welfare because the economy would usually be more better, wages would be better, etc. You actually look at studies. Higher deficits, higher debts lead to usually kind of slower economic growth for everybody. Publicly funded research is more beneficial to the people than leave it to the market. I am unsure on this. It's kind of a mix. Tariffs on international trade are important to encourage local production. Absolutely. You need tariffs constantly, right? Like, you have to tariff a country like China or India hugely, so you can be able to match their prices, because they can produce the same products for extremely cheaper price. But if you tariff them, well, you get the point. From each according to his ability, I'm just going to say neutral. It would be best if social programs were abolished in favor of private charity. I would disagree to this, because I think that some social welfare should be allowed, mostly for families. But private charity is good, but I don't like this idea of just full out, oh, we're going to leave retirees to the private market. I hate that. I think we need to have a social net for families, for retirees, etc. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. I absolutely disagree. I'm not a shill for big tech or big corporation, but you do look at it, and higher tax on the rich really lead to more issues for poor people, as wages would usually go down, and yeah. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. I mean, I agree. It is. I mean, your parents left it for you, so it is legitimate. Basic utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. I'm going to be neutral on this. I think to an extent there should be some more state-ran programs for, like, roads and electricity, but I think there should always still be a private competition. You can't have nationalization for everything. That just causes mass chaos. Government intervention is a threat to the economy. I disagree. You do need the government to intervene every now and then, so the economy doesn't become just what it was in the early 1900s. You don't want another Gilded Age. Those with a greater ability to pay should receive better healthcare. Strongly agree. Like, if you want to have plastic surgery, right, I don't care. If you have the money to pay for it, sure, have it. But I do think we need to have something to help everybody have decent access to healthcare. It's not a right. Well, it is a right for everybody to have access to it, not for the government to pay for it. Quality of education is a right of all people. I agree. Everybody should have a right to have a chance to have education. The means of production should belong to the workers. I strongly disagree with this. It's a stupid notion, and here's my question to the communists out there. If it's so great, co-ops, which I think are fine, but shouldn't be required. If co-ops are so great, why haven't they replaced most private enterprises? And there you go. United Nations should be abolished. I agree. United Nations just useless. Military action by our nation is often necessary to protect it. I agree to an extent. I support regional unions such as the European Union. Nope. I hate the EU so much. It is important to maintain our national sovereignty. I agree. A united world government would be beneficial to mankind. Disagree, because you would have so many different cultures, so many different ethnicities, etc., combined into one nation. It would cause instant turmoil. It would not work. It is important to retain peaceful relations than to further our strength. I'm kind of in the middle of that. I want to have peace, but at the same time, we need to have strength. So we can have peace through strength. So I'm kind of neutral on that. Wars do not have to be justified to other nations. I disagree with that. That's ridiculous. Like, if you just invade Iran, or let's say Iraq, for example, for oil, that's a dumb reason, right? No reason at all. Or even for oil, it's not a good reason. Military spending is a waste of money. I disagree. It is not a waste of money. I do think we're spending a bit too much. But again, that's mostly inflated due to the fact we are in constant foreign wars. International aid is a waste of money. Yes, it's a complete crapshoot. My nation is great. Absolutely. America, while it has issues, is still the one nation in the world I would live in. Outside of probably Poland or something like that. Research should be conducted on an international scale. I'm neutral on this. I think that there should be some international working together on some research. But having everything globalized, that's kind of no. Governments should be accountable to the international community. Well, yeah, they have to. I mean, if you're, like, blowing up churches just because you don't like that religion, well, you should be held accountable. Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. I strongly agree. Like, if you're peacefully protesting, that's fine. But when violence gets involved and you're the side that started it, that's where I have a problem. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. I agree. Our nation's values should be spread as much as possible. Now, when they say our nation's values, this is the issue. You're talking about, like, the idea of democracy and freedom across the world, then absolutely, right? Religious freedom, freedom of speech, stuff like that. But is it this globalist agenda where, alright, everybody has to be globalist? That agenda? So I'm just going to say neutral on that. Mostly due to the fact I don't want any shills that are globalists in the comments going nuts. It is important to maintain law and order, absolutely. Law and order is important. You need law and order, or you can't have a nation. The general populace makes poor decisions. I agree, they make some very dumb decisions. Physician-assisted suicide should be illegal. Absolutely not. It's no. The sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. Neutral on this because you get the government's abusing that power, just like the early 2000s. It never works well. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. Depends what that means. Like, spying on our phones, absolutely not. Stuff like that, no. So again, I'm gonna say neutral, but if it's like more like cameras in the public areas, like at a park or something like that, there's like a secret camera or something like that, stuff like that, sure, but I'll say neutral. The very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty? No, it isn't. The state is actually protecting our liberties to an extent. They really abuse their powers lately. We gotta stop that. Regardless of political opinions, it is important to side with your country. Yeah, you have to side with your country over China or something like that. All authority should be questioned. I'm neutral on that one. A hierarchical state, I don't know what that is. It is important that the government follows the majority opinion. No. The majority opinion would be, we need to legalize abortion to 30 weeks. Right? Would that be a good idea? No. I'm not saying the majority agree with that, but that's just an example. The stronger leadership, the better. Absolutely. If you have strong leadership, you're going to be fine as a nation. You're going to have stability. Your nation will be fine. Democracy is more than a decision-making process. I agree. I mean, it's just having common sense. Environmental regulations are essential. I agree. Because you have these Ben Shapiro types that are like, you don't need regulation. even though you do. You can't have a free market without some regulation to stop, like, companies from dumping a bunch of crap in a river, right? Stuff like that. But stuff like the carbon tax, I'm absolutely against. So that's why I said agree. A better world will come from automation side. No. Children should be educated in religious or traditional values. Absolutely. In particular, traditional values. You know, family first and stuff like that. You can't have this, oh, America's bad. The tradition before us was bad. It's not good at all. Traditions are of no value on their own. I agree if, like, oh yeah, I believe it, but I'm not going to actually listen to it. That's useless. Religion should play a role in government. I'm neutral on that one. Churches should be taxed the same way. No. Climate change is currently one of the greatest threats. I wouldn't say neutral on this. I agree that climate is changing, but I question if it's really from humans and stuff like that. Or if it's even getting blown out of proportion. It is important that we work as a united world to combat climate change. Neutral again. I mean, like, seriously, the United States has done more for climate change than anybody else. China or India are not going to change. So, sure, every other nation could change, but if China and India keeps pumping out more carbon dioxide, it doesn't really matter. Society was better many years ago than it is now. Absolutely. Society's gone to shit in recent years. It is important that we maintain the traditions of our past. I agree. It's important that we think in the longer term beyond our lifespans. I'm neutral on this. We always gotta think about what's happening now. But we also have to think about the future to an extent, but not 100 years in the future. That's, no. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. Disagree. Because, yeah, sure, reason, what does that mean? Who defines what a reason is in a public setting? Is it all what the majority thinks, or what's actually true? So, I disagree. Drugs should be legalized or decriminalized. I think they should be mostly decriminalized. Oh boy, I'm just gonna put neutral on this one. My opinion on gay marriage is simple. I'm for more civil unions. I'm just against the traditional, like, forcing religious institutions to abide by traditional marriages. That's what I'm against. Well, if people want to be a civil union, I really don't care. But I'm just more against the idea that that religious institutes for hundreds of years should be spit on and be forced to listen to this thing that they disagree with. And again, really, I'm neutral on it. No cultures are superior to others. I disagree. Some cultures absolutely stink. Like a culture from San Francisco, I would not want to live in there. Sex outside marriage is immoral. Absolutely, it is. If we accept migrants at all, it is important they assimilate. Absolutely. Like, my opinion, you have to learn English. You have to assimilate. If you don't, well, you're kind of just not doing anything. You're not assimilating. You're not really learning our culture just there. Abortion should be prohibited in most cases or all cases. Strongly agree. I am 100% pro-life. Gun ownership should be prohibited for those without a... Strongly disagree. That's stupid. That is absolutely dumb. Because, oh yeah, well, listen, I want this gun because, hey, I don't need it right now, but I may need it in the future, like an emergency situation. Well, stuff like that, no. I support single parent. Disagree. Prostitution should be illegal. Strongly agree. Maintaining family values is essential. Absolutely. You have to protect family values in this country. If you don't, well, the country's gonna go to shit. It already is. To chase progress at all is dangerous. At all costs is dangerous. I'm gonna say neutral. That's kind of a weird worded question. Genetic modification is a force for good, even on humans. No, that's immoral. Like, oh boy, I'm gonna change this person just because I don't like he looks like that. That's no. We should open our borders with immigration. Hell no. Governments should be as concerned about foreigners as they are about our own citizens. No. Listen, if we solved every single issue in the United States, we had no issues, then sure, you could probably help, some poor Latino country, heavy Latino country that needs help. We have to put our country first. Old people, regardless of factors like culture or sexuality, should be treated equal. I agree. It is important that we further my group's goals above all. I guess yes, because I want to protect social. And oh boy, what did I get? Right-wing populists. Oh yeah. That's a bit too globalist for my liking, but yeah, I'm more on the economic scale. I'm pretty center on a lot of economic issues, but social issues I'm pretty traditional, very patriotic, 70%. Civil liberties I'm kind of more authoritarian, but I agree with freedom of speech and stuff like that. So this was my 8 values test. Right-wing populism, not a surprise. So yes, nutshell, you could see I'm pretty bit more center on the markets, very patriotic, bit more authoritarian on civil liberties, but that's a little bit misleading. I'm pro speech, but stuff like that really was on the test. Social issues, I'm of course very traditional. So this was my 8 values test. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, and yes, let's try to hit 8,000 subs before the end of the year. That'd be appreciated, and yes, thank you to Seahawks, Brendan Nelson, Joshua Perez, Spiffy Diameter for joining the channel. You guys should join the channel too. You get some cool perks. And yes, you should also follow me on Twitter, join the Discord server, and yes, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.